Jesus is the lighthouse. And from the rock was hid. And shone his light of love around me. And I really see just what it wasn't for the lighthouse. Turn your Bible to Exodus and stay in the Holy Ghost. You can speak and speak silently to yourself and to God. If you still want to speak in tongues, it's all right. Just speak silently to yourself and to God while I'm with you. And when we get through preaching, raise the Bible. Exodus, may God bless the reading of His word. Just a short word of exhortation. These are the last days, and I'm learning. I've learned the lesson so well, and I hope I've learned it well enough. That if you're not careful, you will spend years of your life walking around in circles, never accomplishing the things you say you want to accomplish. You may say today I will do this, and then 3 years later you still haven't done it. And not all of us, but many of us have been victims of that. I, for one. It's amazing how life and time keeps on going. And yet we're constantly moving, but we're going nowhere. And that's because we're not accomplishing anything that we set out to do. How many people have made the statement that I never accomplished anything? You have a desire and a hope, and you feel good about it. But by the week it's over with, that flame is gone. You don't carry it out for one reason or another. Well, I learned, and I pray that I learned, that with breaking the circle and going forward, there has to be sacrifices made. And you have to have faith and trust that God can help you. Because sometimes you have to let go of certain things. Things that you are accustomed to. Habits and ways that you're used to. But you have to examine your life and say, what is it that's keeping me from accomplishing or going forward? And when you pinpoint these things, you have to adjust. And it takes a sacrifice because many times when you make that adjustment, you're letting go of your will. Not because the reason why we're not accomplishing these things is because we're governed by our will. We don't feel up to it, we don't do it. We don't feel the drive, we don't do it. We let other things get in the way, so we go in that direction. It's all on us. It's all on us. And then we have to understand, Spirit of the Lord is upon me. Then we have to understand there's a difference in desiring something and then having the willingness to bring it to pass. You can have desires all the days of your life and never see them come to pass. You die with your desires. But unless you have a mind to work, a mind to bring that thing into existence, it'll never come. And you don't always look for opportunity in life. Sometimes you have to make opportunity. You have to pave the way. And sometimes the path that's in between you and that is not always pleasant, but that doesn't mean it's not for you. The Bible says that when I was a young man, I used to love the scripture. I used to, in St. Louis, in the home of living, I used to be down at the basement quoting the scripture stuff with me. How they said that God is able to cause that which is not to be. I said, Lord, you mean to tell me that which is not in existence, we can cause it to be? Well, the world was in existence and He spoke it. And it came forth. You have some people that teach the power of life is in the power of the tongue. That is true, but they take it a little bit too far. I'm not going to die because I said I'm not. Now, that's not what it means. In other words, we shall be judged by the words we speak, and we shall be condemned. And by speaking words of power and words of faith, we can accomplish things. But in my midlife, senior citizen, whatever you want to call it, if I were to tell you, if you were to say, what are one of the most important things in your life? Outside of Christ, of course, right? And that is, if you're young and you are a procrastinator, if you are young, and you're younger than me, or you're my age, and you've said a lot of things that you've never ever accomplished. If you are one who never completes a task, or your words carry no weight with you, change that. I will tell you to understand the importance of time, that it does not wait. I will tell you, I want you to understand that life will pass you by so fast, you won't even realize it, and you'll be in the same place. I will tell you, don't continually live in a circle. Break the circle and go forward. Pay attention to what you say and to what you do. Pay attention to the habits you have in life. If they have not caused you to go forward, you need to change something. If your way of thinking has not caused you to prosper and be in good health, as your soul prospers, you need to change some things. And you want to be balanced in life. Because as a minister, I have to say, you keep God first. I preached a message when we were in the hotel a few years ago. And I preached it. And I ended it with a certain statement. And I was sitting down talking with the saint. Maybe 4 years later. And they said, Bishop, there's a tape, a CD or something that I think would be interesting. And they kept telling me, you need to watch it. I finally watched it. I said, this is pretty good. I didn't mess up. And when the sermon ended with that last statement, my mouth dropped wide. What? And my heart smote me. That was 4 years ago. And when they made that last statement, I was in the exact same place, doing the exact same thing. And my heart smote me. I didn't even realize 4 years had passed. And I had walked in a complete circle when I said I was going forward. It smoked my heart. I made some drastic changes. Years ago, I was writing a journal. I'm even ashamed to say this, but I need you to know, in case the Lord take me home, don't waste time. Get your priorities straight. Keep God first and build everything around it, but you got to go forward. Yes. Because tomorrow's not promised. The Bible teaches us, and it ain't finna wait on you. I wrote in a journal, and I was saying, Lord, I was in my 20s, something like that. I said, Lord, what am I missing? Preacher, I said, I'm missing something. What is it? He brought me into the church with the miraculous. It increased as I did. I said, well, what am I missing? Am I not walking brave enough? I was only a young man. You know, walk as old as you, I guess. But then I heard him say, you're too idle. He didn't say you were a whoremonger or a liar or a cheater. He said you're too idle. Now, when you're being idle, you get in a lot of trouble. But he said I was too idle. So I wrote that down in my journal, 1985. That's when he showed me the future that I would be preaching around the world. He showed me that in 1985. And it was manifested years later. People bear witness to it that were in my dreams. And I wrote it down. God said I was too idle. Sometimes we want God to speak, but when he speaks, we don't hear it. And sometimes God speaks and shows us what we need, but we don't have the strength to fulfill it. but he did show it to us. So preacher, I decided to write again. I picked up my journal, and I'm about to write it. Let me go ahead and tell about my adventures and my travel, the things that I've been through. And when I opened it up, I turned to the last page. This is 20 years later. I turned to the last page, and with tears in my eyes, I have to tell you, the last page said you're too idle. I never wrote in that book again. Oh, by this time I done finished the pages. I felt so convicted. You mean to tell me all this time went by and I never picked that pencil up and wrote in that book again? God never lies. You see, you can be busy and still be idle. Being idle, as I looked it up, doesn't necessarily mean not doing anything. But being idle also means you're not doing that which is of most importance. You're doing a lot of things, but not where it makes a difference. And a lot of us are idle. We're busy, but we're yet idle. Because in our being busy, our priorities are not where they should be. And we're not accomplishing the things in life that we should, the things that can really edify us, some of us. So because you're busy doesn't mean you're not idle. We can be busy sometimes in the wrong thing. And now I had to, those of you that are around my age, I had to go through a crisis. So now I'm saying, Lord, I don't want to leave here and get nothing. Did I waste time? I tried to find some way out of this. Did I waste time? What did I do all these years? But I was in the wilderness, and he did show me how I was being purged. And it was after that I stepped out on faith and been around the world 10 times now. And yet I can still see a trail there. You have to be careful. And so I've been fighting that ever since, pushing forward, because I know, thank God when he said we can redeem the time. When you put it back in God's hand, he can make up for anything you might have overlooked. Moses had to run for 40 years. He just knew he was the one who would lead them out. And he was. But the timing was wrong. He had to leave for 40 years. Somebody says the man done wasted his life. But at the age of 80, he came back. When he left at the age of 40, it was just him running for his life. He ran into Media, met a priest, married a daughter, and became a shepherd. I could imagine the agony and the pain. I just wasted my life. Lord, I messed up. But when 40 years later, God spoke to him and said, I'm going to send you back. And so, son, he waited 40 years, and it seemed like he wasted his time, but God can redeem the time. He left 40 years ago with nothing. He come back 40 years later at the age of 80 and was made shepherd over 2 million people. From keeping the sheep to ruling God's people. God can redeem the time. If you feel as though my life is wasted, put it in the hands of God. He can fill in that emptiness. He can restore what the cankerworms and the grasshoppers have eaten up. He restored Job double what he lost. See, God can restore the time. He can renew. And if we've lost anything, he can give it back plus some. That's right. He can help us make up for lost years. In other words, he can help us get on track of where we should be. He can do that, but you got to have a mind to work. You got to have a mind to want to move forward. I keep feeling the virtue, and I can't stress it. Stop saying what you're going to do, but never do it. You're walking around in a circle. 3 years from now, you'll be saying the exact same thing. Situation may change, your environment may change, might be in a different corner, different house, with different people, but your attitude will be the same. And you will have accomplished nothing that you said you would do. That's what I would tell you. Redeem the time. Make the best of your time. Make the best of it. Don't be one that says and never do. You'll waste your whole life. And I'm only talking because I'm a preacher. I'm talking in righteousness. You got to put God first. Even if I wasn't a preacher, I'd have to tell you as a Christian. If you don't put God first, it's in vain anyway.
That's right.
Because what is the profit of man to gain the whole world but do what? You lose your own soul. So what good is it to work hard all day long just to, all your life just to lose your soul? You mean you done lived in this world 60, 75, 80 years to lift your eyes in hell? Are you serious? That's what you live for? That's wasting time. Read it quickly. Exodus 36. It won't be long. Start at verse 1.
Then wrought Bezalel and Aholiab and every wise-hearted man, in whom the Lord put wisdom and understanding to know how to work all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary.
This is Moses and the children of Israel in the sanctuary, in the wilderness, and God is instructing Moses to build the sanctuary. Now the beautiful thing about that scripture we just read is that he named a few men, right? And he said these are men whom God has put wisdom in to be able to work things. Then this is what I do as a shepherd sometimes. You ever wonder how sometimes our children can jump up on those instruments overnight? Seems like they don't know how to play them overnight. It's because I look for children whom God has put wisdom in. They're talented. All you got to do is see if it's in them and put them straight. The Holy Ghost will help them go from there. I look for church members that have certain wisdom to do certain things. And then I go to them and I put them in that position so their gifts can shine to the word of God. Because God puts in certain people a wisdom, ability. It's like a scout. I look for people's abilities, God-given abilities that can be utilized for the kingdom of God's sake. And even in personal counseling, I talk with people and I try to see where their strong tricks, and sometimes they don't know it's there, but I see it. You know how many managers we got in this local congregation? Even like y'all folks are managers, supervisors. We've got over 14 of them, managers. So evidently, in this spirit here, we raise up stewards. But I look for ability. We need people that have the eye of the scout, that can see the good in you when you can't, by the power of God. And I look for these things. And I say, maybe you do good here. Hey, you do good here. This is what God said to Moses. Pick you out men that I put wisdom in to do certain things. There's a difference in being able to do it and want to do it. Okay? If you just want to do it, let those that are gifted to do it, let them take the lead, support them with a gift of help. But right now, I'm looking for people whom God has put wisdom in to do certain things. I feel a virtue. I feel a virtue. Pay attention to me, because I feel something. I must be talking to somebody somewhere. I feel a virtue. This is very important. Amen. You see, this is very important that you learn to know what God has put in you. It can help you even guide your life, make decisions. It encourages you because you put yourself in a position where you feel not anything against God, but you feel liberty. And you will shine. You will go for it. You will go face all the obstacles and everything because God put it in you. Read.
According to all that the Lord had commanded. And Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab and every wise-hearted man, in whose heart the Lord had put wisdom, even everyone whose heart stirred him up to come unto the work to do it. And they received Moses all the offering, which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of the sanctuary, to make it withal. And they brought yet unto him free offerings every morning. And all the wise men that wrought all the work of the sanctuary came every man from his work which they made.
Now, though tithing was instituted to the Jews, here they didn't want tithing. They wanted the free will offering. He was building the sanctuary. He wanted people to give from the heart. And they began to bring. Read.
And they spake unto Moses, saying, the people bring much more than enough for the service of the work, which the Lord commanded to make. And Moses gave commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman make any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing.
I wonder how many pastors would do that today. They made their quota. They had enough. With the free will offering, they gave enough, and God, and this is what God said, and Moses said, Tell us enough. I don't think many bishops would like to preach that. We got enough. I feel a virtue. We have enough. So they got enough. They have what they need. See, even an offering taking people is not based on greed. It's based on need.
Amen.
So they praise the Lord. And you have to trust us on that. You see what I'm saying? We have certain quotas that we look for that can cover, and even the highest quota right now that we look for, if it's all given, at the end of the month we come out with a zero balance. No spending money, no nothing. Zero balance. And I often say, my God, sometimes we've been blessed in abundance and still come out with a zero balance. But then all I can remember is what God said, he that has much got nothing left over. Why? Because that much is based on need, not greed. Amen. You understand what I'm saying? When they gave the manna, God said the family that has a lot, get a big pot. The family that has a little, get the size you need. And he said, don't collect for the next day. Right. Only collect what you need for the day. Now some didn't believe that, so they collected a little extra. And when they decided to get up the next day to eat the leftovers, the Bible said they had turned to worms. Because the scripture says, give us this day our daily bread. You're trying to heat today for tomorrow always, it's going to turn to worms. You're not going to see it. I feel a virtue, you see? I feel a virtue. So that's why when we always say we have a little ways to go to that certain quarter we try to reach, and maybe y'all have to pray for me for being so honest, you know. But it's really based on need. Amen. I ain't got to the greed. It's based on need, and believe me, it all goes. Now, this is why I read that, because this is what we need. Nehemiah chapter 4. Let's read it real quick, and we'll call it quits. Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1.
But it came to pass.
It came to pass.
That when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth, and took great indignation, and mocked the Jews. And he spake before his brethren and the army of Samaria, and said, what do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice?
The Jews had been taken captive, but God had prophesied that they would be able to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the walls that were destroyed by the enemy. And it came to pass. Nehemiah would come back and they would begin to rebuild the walls again, the structures. And the enemies around them would mock them. What are they trying to do? I feel a virtue. They're trying to establish the walls again. What are these evil Jews trying to do? They're trying to rebuild the walls and separate themselves again. What's evil about trying to restore yourself? What's evil with trying to build things up around you and to strengthen yourself? This is what they were doing. They were trying to rebuild the temple and rebuild the wall and fix up the city of God that was torn down. And this is where we're at now. What are you doing, Bishop? I'm trying to rebuild the walls. But them that are in the flesh are going to cause evil. You got an attitude. Oh, you all acting funny now. No, I'm trying to rebuild the wall. Trying to fill in the breaches, the holes that are in the wall, trying to make it solid again, praise God, so that we don't have to be scattered or be destroyed by sin and reproach. And the enemy mocked them. What are these sinful Jews are trying to be more righteous than thou? No, they're trying to restore the city of God. They're trying to rebuild the city of God. Church, say praise the Lord.